Hello everyone, this is David from China. Welcome to my channel. So recently I got so many questions on how we can have different pages in our website, but our codes should be in one file. So in today's project I'm gonna teach you how you can have different pages in your website, but your codes will be in one HTML, CSS and JavaScript file. And also in today's project I am going to use Jquery library. So if you haven't used it before, I'm sure that you're gonna like it, because jQuery is a JavaScript library that will make the lines of your code very short, and also it will make the coding process very smooth and easier. I'm sure that you're gonna like this library after finishing this project. So firstly, let's see the overview of today's project. So here it is a kind of simple website. I didn't want to put so many things in the pages because I didn't want to waste your time. So if you want, you can put different things in your pages. So in my page it says hello world. This is the first page and there is a picture here. If I click on next, it will go to the next page and the whole thing will change. It says now you came to the second page and the different picture. And if I click on next, it will go to the next page. This is gonna be the last page. If I click on next, it will alert the message and it will say this is the last page. I can also go back like this. So after finishing this project, I'm sure that you're gonna learn something. And this may be easy for some of you, but I'm sure that it will help for those who have just started learning JavaScript. So I will save the first file as saying index.html, and the second file will be index.css for my CSS, and the third one will be index.js for my JavaScript. So in my HTML I will write the main text and I will say different pages using one file. So after that I should link my CSS and JavaScript to my HTML. So I will say index.css. So then I will write the script tag and the source will be index.js for my JavaScript. So we are going to use jQuery library, right? So do not forget that before using any library you should link it to your file. So now I will just paste the link of jQuery library. If you don't have it, I will just leave it in the description below. So if you don't have this link, we cannot use jQuery in our codes. So inside the body I will create a div and I will give the ID of first, because this is gonna be my first page. So and then I will just give the class of page, and also I will align it to the center. So if you want to have different things in your first page, you can just place them inside this first div, because this is gonna be our first page. As for me, I want to have the h1 inside my first page and it should say hello world. Let's say hello world. This is the first page. So after that I want to have an image, so I will just save the source should be, let's say, 1.jpg, because in my desktop I have 3 websites, and after that I want to have the width of, let's say, 600 pixels and the height of, let's say, 500 pixels. I am giving the size of an image because I want to have all images to be with the same size. So after that I want to have the line break and then input. If I do not write this line break, let's say my input and the image will be next to each other because they are inline elements. So I don't want it to be like this, so I'm having the line break between the input and the image. So my input should be the type of button, and we don't need name for this, but the value should be previous. So after that I will just copy this input and paste it one more time. So let's see how it looks now. I will go to my desktop and open the file index.html. So here it is. It is so simple because we haven't put any CSS style for now. So firstly I will just copy this div and paste it 2 more times because I want to have 3 pages. So the second div should have the ID of second, so I will change the ID, and the class should be the same, and the value of h1 should also change, so I will just erase this one and I will say now you came to the second page. So the source of image should also change, so I will say 2.jpg, and the size value, it is the same. So now my third div should have the ID of third and the class name the same, and also here inside h1 I want to have the text of this is gonna be the last page. So, and then I want to change the source of image to 3.jpg, and this other things should be the same. So let's see now. Here it is, we have 3 pages in one page now. So firstly, let's put some CSS styles. So now I will go to my Sublime text and go to index.css. So my body should have the background color of, let's say, RGBA, let's 255, 120, let's say 55, and the opacity of 1. So let's see how it looks now. Here it is. So the background color is the same in the first page. So now I want to give the style to my images. So I want to have the box shadow of, let's say, 7 pixels, 7 pixels, 15 pixels, and the color of, let's say, black. So, and then I want to have the margin bottom of, let's say, 20 pixels, because I want to have the space between the image and the button. So here it is. So now I want to give style to my inputs. So I will go to my CSS, index.css, and I will say input should have the color of, let's say, white, and it should have the font weight of, let's say, bolder, and also it should have the background color of, let's say, black maybe, and also font size of 20 pixels, and also padding of, let's say, 8 pixels, and I want to have the border radius of 8 pixels. So I want to have the box shadow also, it is gonna be, let's say, 7 pixels, 7 pixels, let's say 13 pixels, and the color of, let's say, red. Let's check how it is. Here it is, my buttons. So now I want to have the box shadow to in my h1, so I will just go there. So h1 should have the box shadow of, let's say, 10 pixels, 10 pixels, and 15 pixels, and the color of white maybe. So here it is. I put the box shadow to my h1 also, and for now I don't want to see the second div and the third div, so I will go to my CSS and I will say the ID of second should have the, let's say, display of none. So now the ID of third, the element with the ID of third should have the display of none. So let's check. Here it is, as you can see, we are in the first page now, but we cannot see the second and the third pages. So now it's time to write some functions in our JavaScript. So I will go to my JavaScript index.js and I will create the function. Let's say, let's give the name of switch pages to my function, because I want to use switch in my JavaScript. So firstly I will give the argument of x to my function, because x will define which button we click it. So now you will understand. So I will go to my HTML, and the first input, if I click on the first button, it should go to my JavaScript and run the function with the name of switch pages, and the argument should be -1. So my x is equal to -1. So when I click the first button, my JavaScript will see that the value of x is equal to -1, and it will know that I clicked the first button. So I will just copy this one on click and paste it to the second button. So now the value of x should change to 1, and if I click on the second button, and in the JavaScript function will know that the value of x is equal to 1, and it will find out that we clicked the second button. So I will just come to the third button, and the value of x should be -2, and here the value of x should be -2 itself. So the fifth button should have the value of -3, and the last one should have the value of 3. So with the help of different values of x, my JavaScript will know which button I clicked. So I will say switch. So I could use if-else statement like this. For example, if x is equal to -1, do something like this. But I have 6 different commands, so it's not a good practice to use if-else. Instead, we will use switch statement. So switch x. So let's say the first one will be case -1. If x is equal to -1, so I want to do something. So for now, let's write the command, and then I want to break the statement. So I will just copy this one and paste it 5 more times, because I have 6 conditions. So 3, 4, 5, 6. So now I will just change the cases. So this one should be 1, and this one should be -2, and this one should be 2, and this one should be -3, and this one should be 3 itself. So now when x is equal to -1, as you can see, here is our first button. If I click on this, it should alert the message, and it should say that this is the first page. So I will just say alert. So this is the first page. This is the first page. So let's see whether it's working or not. So here it is. If I click on this, it will say this is the first page. Now when x is equal to 1, it is like if I click on this button, this page should disappear and the second page should appear. So in order to do that, I will say jQuery selector. So we are using jQuery library instead of saying, let me write this. So instead of saying document.getElementById, and the ID of, let's say, first dot style dot display, let's say display is equal to block. So instead of writing too many codes like this, using jQuery library, we can just say like this: jQuery selector, and the ID of first should hide. So as you can see, the lines of code became so short. I can just erase this one. We don't need this one because I am using jQuery library. So I will just copy this one and paste it one more time. As you can see, now I will just say with the element with the ID of second should be shown. So in order to say that, I will just say show. So, and also I want to change the background color of my body. So I will say jQuery selector, and the element with the name of body should have the CSS. So the first one will be background color, and the value should be, let's say, I want to have the hexadecimal color 475F. So as you can see, it is so simple with the help of jQuery library. Let's check whether it's working or not. So I will just reload the page. If I click on previous, it will say this is the first page. If I click on next, as you can see, it goes to my second page. So now I want to write different functions to my case -2. So the case -2 should say, let's say, the element with the ID of first should be shown. So I will say show. And the element with the ID of second should hide. And also I want to have the background color of my body should be, let's say, the element with the name of body should have the CSS, and it will be background color, and the color will be RGBA 255, 120, 55, and 1. So let's check now. If I click on next, it will go to the next page. If I click on preview, it will go to the first page. As you can see, we are switching the pages. So if I click on case 2, it is our fourth button. So the element with the ID of second, it should hide, and the element with the ID of third, so the element with the ID of third should be shown. And also I want to change the background color of my body, so I will just say the element with the ID of body should have the CSS value, and it should be background color, and the color should be equal to, let's say, RGBA. So it is RGBA, let's say 50, 120, or let's say the green color 255, 120, and it is 1. So let's see whether it is working or not. So I will go to the next page. Oh, here I just, in my HTML, I just forgot to change the value of second buttons, so it should be next, and this one also should be next. So, and this one also should be next. So let's see now. Here it is. If I go to next, it will go to the next page. If I go to next, it will go to my third page. So now I will go to my JavaScript, and I will just write the function for the case -3. If case -3, so I will just say the element with the ID of second should be shown, and the element with the ID of third should be hidden, so using hide. And also I want to have the, let's say, I want to copy this one because it is the second page, so my body should have the color of this. So now the last thing left, when case is equal to, when x is equal to 3, I want to alert the message, and it should say this is the last page. So let's see whether it is working or not. So if I go to the next page, it will go to the next page, third page, and if I click next, it will alert the message, and it will say this is the last page. I can also go back like this. So instead of these buttons, you can use anything, but when, for example, you use different thing, right? Do not forget to include this one, on click switch pages 1, so you can put this thing to anything you want. So this is the way how you can have different pages in your website. So actually it is not so difficult. And as you can see, with the help of jQuery, the lines of our code is not too long. So it is very useful to use jQuery. So if you want to be a front-end web developer, you should learn jQuery library in order to land a good job. So see you guys. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel and like the video. More and more projects and tutorials are coming. So see you in the next video.